Today I'm going to teach you how to get so good at drum beats that it feels illegal. Now, most drummers think that their beats suck because they don't know enough of them, but that's actually not the problem. The real problem is that there are 4 beat destroyers that are killing most drummers' creativity. And the real key is to remove each one of these beat destroyers so that you can flow effortlessly around the kit. This system is simple, but it works. So let's dive in. All right, so let's start with beat destroyer number 1. Now, if you've ever learned a ton of drum beats but found yourself not being able to put them in real songs, well, then you are in the pattern prison. And this typically means that you are memorizing the wrong stuff. Now, when I was growing up, I spent way too much time learning note for note Blink-182 beats. But when it came time to jam with other musicians or to create my own drum beats, my mind went completely blank. But guys like Nate Smith or Aaron Spears opened my eyes to being fluent behind the drum kit. These guys turned simple patterns into endless grooves instead of being locked into a script like I used to be. So now let me show you how to escape from the pattern prison and actually use what you learn. Now, the key to escaping the pattern prison is actually by learning simpler, more versatile patterns. The problem is we learn these long, extensive drum beats where every note has to be precise, and that's what creates pure overwhelm and typically leads you to playing like a robot and not having any fluency behind the kit. So instead of learning a 32 note 2 measure groove, just get really good at a simple pattern like right, left, right, right. Some of you may know this as the paradiddle, and if you do, your eyes are already rolling, but stop right there. This pattern is actually sick, and by discrediting it, you are leaving major drum gains on the table. Because I'm going to show you how to take the paradiddle to instantly make a boring groove way more creative. So first, let's start off with a groove like this. Now, all we're going to do to this groove is add 3 paradiddles to it. 2 of them are going to be in the very beginning, and I'm going to replace this note with a kick. And the third one I'm going to add at the end with just an extra little left ghost note in there. So now let's see how this groove has changed. By the way, don't worry about writing any of this down. If you really want to dig into these patterns and get the note for note playable notation, click the link in the description below and I'll send it to you completely for free. So one of my other simple patterns that I love playing with is simply right, left, left, kick. And the beautiful thing is once you get really good at these really simple patterns, you can combine them together to create pretty complex beats, but that feel really easy to you. So now I'm going to take this exact same beat, but add a measure to it. And on that second measure, I'm going to add in the pattern right, left, left, kick 2 times to the beginning. Everything else is going to stay the same, but you'll be able to hear how the beat instantly sounds even more creative. Let's check it out. Now remember, the concept here is not to learn the beats note for note that I'm teaching you now. The real key is to learn these simple phrases that you can apply in your own ways. All right, now let's unlock beat destroyer number 2. Now, if your hi-hats sound like a broken metronome and you're always playing the same patterns with the same dynamics, with the same feel, well, then you most likely have the whack hats beat destroyer. And it's majorly holding you back from unlocking your beat creativity. I mean, listen to drummers like Travis Barker. His hi-hats are exploding with creativity. Or even drummers like JD Beck, where every measure sounds like a new conversation. But most drummers play the hi-hat like it's an afterthought. And right now we are about to flip that. So let me show you 3 quick hi-hat tricks that will instantly help your hi-hat grooves stand out, and none of them require more speed. Now for me, I spent years only playing quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes on the hi-hat without even considering the possibility of doing anything different. But the moment that I viewed my hi-hat as the ultimate tool to increase my beat creativity, well, is the moment that my beats got way more creative. And for me, it started with hi-hat accents. Now, what you're probably expecting me to talk about is getting good at accenting on the downbeats or the upbeats, which is highly important. But what I want to talk about is something that I don't hear drummers talk about often, and that is treating your hi-hat accents as if they are a second kick drum pattern. For example, let's start off with a basic groove that sounds like this. Now this is a solid groove, and if we wanted, there is some room to add in even more kick drum notes. But that's the more obvious answer. Sometimes we want a more subtle rhythm that we can add with accents using our hi-hats. Now I'm gonna add 5 accent patterns on the hi-hat over this groove. And what I really like about this is it's a subtle creativity boost. It adds some really nice feel, and I like the contrasting rhythms between the kick drum and the hi-hat. So let's check out how it sounds. All right, now let's unlock level 2 in improving your hi-hat creativity, and that is with linear grooves. Now, if you don't know, a linear groove is where no 2 limbs hit at the same time. So if you're hitting the hi-hat is all that you can play, and the same applies for every other drum on the kit. Now, this gets you to think about drum beats in an entirely new way. The reason why this is so powerful is we are so conditioned to hearing a consistent subdivision going on the hi-hat with almost every drum beat. But with linear grooves, your hi-hat pattern starts to get broken up into different chunks, which is an immediate sidestep from what you are used to listening to, and it can unlock a brand new way of playing for you. And the easiest way to start this is simply by deleting the hi-hat notes that land on the snare and the kick. So now we're gonna turn this accented groove into a linear accented groove. Check it out. Now, level 3 of unlocking your whack hats is by adding some spice to your hats. And here I'm gonna teach you one of my favorite hi-hat tricks, which is incredibly simple, and that is throwing a quick 3-note triplet phrase at the end of any groove. And I do this in a way that's very practical, but also looks very impressive. It's simply by adding a right, right, left. So now let's add a little bit of spice to this linear accented groove and hear how it sounds. By the way, if you want to learn my 3 favorite hi-hat tricks that I put in this spice category, well, I'm including those with all of the playable notation for the beats in this video that you can get for free in the link in the description below. Time to unlock Beat Destroyer number 3. Now, do you ever notice how a lot of drummers treat their hi-hats and their toms like they live in 2 completely different worlds? I call this the Great Divide, and it's one thing that's definitely killing your beat creativity. Now, drummers like Tony Royster Jr. are so good at blending toms and hats mid-groove, which makes all of their beats sound so alive. Remember, you don't need insane fills to be more creative. You just need to do a better job at getting your drums to talk to each other. Now I'm gonna teach you the easiest way to incorporate toms into your hi-hat groove. Now, remember in point number 1 where we talked about learning simple patterns? Well, we are going to use that concept, but under the frame that we want to split the pattern between a tom into hi-hat. For example, I'm gonna take a really easy pattern like right, left, left, and say I want to play those rights on the floor tom and the lefts on the hi-hat. Now let's just play this pattern 2 times within a regular groove, and you'll start to see how it instantly makes it sound way more creative. But guys, this is a two-way street. We don't only want to be able to add toms to our hi-hat grooves, we also want to be able to add hi-hats to our tom grooves. I do not see this very much at all, but it adds such a cool personality to so many drum beats. For example, I like to use this trick live often. It creates a really cool texture, especially if you're trying to slowly increase the creativity of a song over time. And again, we are going to use the same concept here. We're gonna take a super simple sticking pattern and just apply it between a tom and a hat. So let's take a single stroke roll. Right, left, right, left. Let's put the first 2 notes on the hi-hat, the 3rd note on the floor tom, and then the 4th note back on the hi-hat. When we throw it into a groove, it sounds like this. Now guys, it's time to unlock Beat Destroyer number 4, and that is the dead pocket. And there is one solution to fixing the dead pocket that I've actually been using in many of these examples throughout this video already. And mastering this technique alone made all of my drum beats feel so much better. I use it all of the time. I truly love it. But this one is sneaky, it's quiet, and without it, your groove can totally die. I'm talking about ghost notes. And if you aren't already familiar, these are super quiet notes, oftentimes played on the snare drum, just about 3 inches off the head with your drumstick. Now, a lot of drummers may be familiar with the concept, but not a lot of drummers have mastered them. For example, take a look at drummers like Steve Gadd and Questlove. These guys are adding quiet whispers of ghost notes in between every single backbeat. And as a result, their grooves feel amazing. Now let me walk you through 3 steps to incorporating ghost notes into your groove to not only make them feel better, but to also make them sound more creative. Now, if you haven't worked with ghost notes, we're gonna start off with level 1. And that is simply adding 1 to 2 notes at the very end of your phrase. It's simple, it's subtle, but it feels good, and it sounds like this. Now, level 2 of ghost note creativity is adding a ghost note before the main snare drum accent. So let's stack that on top of what we just did and see how this groove sounds now. Now finally, level 3 is we're gonna extend this drum beat into 2 measures where we are going to have a little bit more freedom to get creative in measure 2 by adding in 3 brand new ghost notes before the snare drum accent. Now, unlocking your beat creativity and squashing all 4 beat destroyers is just one step of the equation. If you want to unlock full freedom on the drum set, you're also going to want to squash your fill destroyers. Check out this video right here to learn what they are and learn how to improve them.